President Trump today warning Ukrainian President Zelensky that he better, quote, move fast to negotiate an end to Russia's invasion of Ukraine, or he risks not having a nation to lead. Trump and Zelensky are at odds after Trump's team met with Putin in an effort to end the nearly 3-year-long war without including Ukraine in those talks. Now, President Trump today calling Zelensky, quote, a dictator without elections. His remarks coming after Zelensky accused Trump of living in a Russian-made disinformation space. On Tuesday, Trump seemed to accuse Ukraine of starting the war. These insults, of course, may complicate efforts to end the war between Russia and Ukraine. President Zelensky is adamant his country be involved in the talks. President Trump says they will be, but also threw some blame on Zelensky.
Yeah, I heard, oh, well, we weren't invited. Well, you've been there for 3 years. You should have ended it 3 years. You should have never started it. You could have made a deal.
So Trump's peace plan includes holding elections in Ukraine, which is likely a non-starter for Zelensky since millions of Ukrainians have fled the country and hundreds of thousands are currently fighting.
U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio says that only President Trump can bring peace to both sides, citing that for the conflict to end, everyone involved in said conflict has to be okay with it, meaning that both sides will have to basically meet in the middle. Zelensky on his end didn't appreciate not being included in the first meeting between the United States and Russia. Now, I'm not sure if it's being factored in, but I just kind of remember Zelensky rejecting peace when he talked to Boris Johnson, something that the Ukrainian president recently denied ever happening. Now, at this point, I think it's pretty clear that Zelensky is not in favor of peace talks. At least that's what the optics are telling us. Now, moving on, guys, LA Mayor Karen Bass decided to take an interview that may have ended her career because she obviously doesn't want to be held accountable for her actions. So instead, she throws her own team under the bus, blaming them for not preparing enough for these wildfires.
I'm going to go to Ghana, which I know you've said was a mistake now. But I just am curious on the thought process behind it.
Right.
Because we know that there was warnings about the weather before you went, and you still went. What was the thought process behind going to Ghana?
So let me just tell you a couple of things. First of all, when the White House called and asked me if I would represent the president, I said yes. It was going to be a very, very short trip, over a weekend and 2 business days. We need to look at everything about the preparation and all of that for the fires, because I think when we evaluate that, we will find that although there were warnings that I frankly wasn't aware of, although there were warnings, I think our preparation wasn't what it typically is, meaning that before there's a major weather event, for example, last week when we knew we were going to get into the rains, you saw us come together and us talk about, get your sandbags, bring the K-rails out. That type of preparation didn't happen. If that had, I will tell you, Alex, I wouldn't have even gone to San Diego, let alone leave the country.
But here's the best part. The reporter did not let Karen Bass out of the question that easily. Look at how she responded when she was told that the public was well aware of the warnings of a wildfire.
But what do you mean there were warnings you weren't aware of? Because I know we were talking about it on the news. A lot of people were talking about the problems, warning that this was going to be a huge deal.
So when I talked about it with the fire chief, what she said is that we have warnings of Santa Ana winds a lot, but predicting this, and you saw, from the city, from the county, that level of preparation really didn't happen. So it didn't reach that level to me to say something terrible could happen and maybe you shouldn't have gone on the trip.
Why didn't it
But to
happen?
me, I don't know.
This is what we call a political spin, passing accountability and instead crying as if she's the one who's the victim. Democrats do this pretty often, haven't you noticed? But what do you guys think about Mayor Karen Bass? Does she deserve to stay as LA's mayor? Let me know, guys. Now, if you guys appreciate the information from this video, I want to redirect you to a recent live stream that I did. I talked about a lot of topics, but one of them was the possibility of New York Attorney General Letitia James going to prison. Now, you have to check that video out. As always, thank you so much for hitting the like button and for subscribing to the channel.
They're curbing inflation and saving taxpayers billions and billions of dollars every single day. And there's even under consideration a new concept where we give 20% of the DOGE savings to American citizens and 20% goes to paying down debt, because the numbers are incredible, Elon. So many billions of dollars, billions, hundreds of billions. And We're thinking about giving 20% back to the American citizens and 20% down to pay back debt and pay down debt, which is, if you look at value, if it were a real estate balance sheet, the debt is tiny, but we still want to pay it down.
Hey, by the way, guys, if you're one of the real ones who really enjoy what we do here on the channel, you've got to check out the Inner Circle. This is where our true supporters get exclusive access to content that I just can't share here, completely commercial free. It's also the best way to keep this channel going strong. So if you want to be a part of something special, join us over there. Links in the description or in the pinned comment down below. American taxpayers may be getting a $5,000 Trump from the Trump administration very soon. LA Mayor Karen Bass has a disastrous interview at the aftermath of the wildfires in California, and Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky is asking for even more money or else. Now, I've got all of that and a whole lot more, but let's get back to this frivolous spending that DOGE is continually finding day by day. Now, guys, I just want to ask, if you appreciate these daily updates, please take a second and hit the like button for the video and subscribe to the channel. I really would appreciate it.
The Department of Government Efficiency is pledging to crack down on federal credit card spending after taxpayers were hit with a nearly $40 billion bill last year. DOGE announced plans to, quote, simplify the government's credit card program, which currently has 4.6 million active accounts, more than the total number of federal employees. The initiative says it's working with agencies to reduce administrative costs and will report back with a plan in 1 week. The General Services Administration has run the program since 1998, issuing government-linked credit cards to millions of employees across more than 250 agencies. The system is meant to streamline spending, but watchdogs have long flagged abuse. Government credit cards have been misused for everything from luxury meals to adult entertainment. A recent audit found that 12% of Defense Department travel charges violated spending policies, including $500,000 in transactions at casinos, bars, and even the Super Bowl. Another $1.2 billion in purchases weren't reviewed by supervisors.
Now, I don't know about you folks, but I don't remember paying taxes to send federal employees to the Super Bowl, do you? Nor did I pay taxes for them to spend my money on casinos and bars. But according to DOGE, that's where billions of taxpayer money is going, which could explain why a lot of federal employees are ticked off about getting fired. It also explains why Elon Musk is pushing to investigate sensitive data, as these credit cards outnumber the headcount of federal workers. So just imagine how much money would be saved if these credit cards were just all canceled. That, and if the people who had access to these credit cards actually used them responsibly. Hey, by the way, guys, if you're one of the real ones who really enjoy what we do here on the channel, you've got to check out the Inner Circle. This is where our true supporters get exclusive access to content that I just can't share here, completely commercial free. It's also the best way to keep this channel going strong. So if you want to be a part of something special, join us over there. Links in the description or in the pinned comment down below. This leads me to talk about the idea of sharing the savings that DOGE has found within a short period of time, mixed in with layoffs to different agencies. And, well, you get billions of dollars in savings that the Trump administration wants to pass on to you. I know it sounded a little bit like an ad, but go with it.
This morning, sweeping budget cuts expected to hit the Pentagon. Sources tell ABC News Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth asked top Pentagon officials to draw up plans for a sweeping 8% cut. The department has not seen cuts this deep in more than a decade. The Defense Department employs nearly 878,000 civilians, with up to 60,000 being probationary employees. On Monday, DOGE posted a list on its website of more than 1,000 federal contracts it claims to have terminated.
It's a middle finger to our heroes and their lives of service.
Sources tell ABC News Hegseth is preparing to fire or remove a series of top generals and senior officials. A list of their names already circulating among Republicans on Capitol Hill.
Staff and other members of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Standing with it right now. Look forward to working with them.
President Donald Trump says his administration is considering giving 20% of the savings from DOGE's work back to Americans.
Now, we're going to have to wait and see if these savings are actually provided to taxpayers, because I listened to his speech and the president did not imply that this was a sure thing. Although many people are pleased to see the transparency within the Trump administration. Now, moving on, guys, I want to talk about Ukraine and its president, Vladimir Zelensky. He and President Trump are now at odds, with the latter calling Zelensky a dictator. Now, I understand that this This isn't the messaging that we've been getting for years. If anything, Zelensky has been painting Putin as the dictator. But I want you guys to watch this clip from Tucker Carlson where he asked Piers Morgan to define a dictator. Watch.
If the West allows Putin to just take the land he's taken, what guarantee do we have he won't try and take the rest of Ukraine? I think he's a pretty ruthless, evil Russian dictator.
How are we defining, just to define the term so we can follow the same term? What's a dictator?
I would start by saying you have no respect for democratic norms. A free and fair election.
Because Zelensky's obviously not elected either. He's also banned a religious denomination. He's murdered his political opponents. He has banned a language group. Those all seem like features of dictatorship to me. Now, he has the support of the British intelligence agencies. That doesn't mean he's not a dictator, though. That sounds like a dictator. I mean, if I just gave you a piece of paper and I'm like, here are some qualities of a European leader, you would say, well, that's not legitimate. That guy's a dictator. I can't support that. But his name's Zelensky, and he was once a comedian, and he does my show, so he's not a dictator. I think it's a dictator.
That was a beautiful setup, by the way, because at this point, it looks like only Zelensky is the one who wants war, because he's still asking for even more money. And he's not asking for a few dollars. He's demanding $250 billion. Now, I want you to think about that number and realize that he admitted something just a few weeks ago. He says that he has no idea where more than $100 billion of U.S. aid has gone. So we've sent all this money to the Ukraine and he doesn't even know where it is. Now, I understand that this is in response to what President Trump said about funding the war. But even then, it's been widely reported that we've sent more than $175 billion to this country. And he claims that they've only gotten, $75 billion? Kind of a huge discrepancy with numbers here. It also doesn't help that reports from late last year show multiple officials within this government buying a Rolls Royce. Now, I don't know about you guys, but buying a luxury car during a war is kind of weird. And it's estimated that 13 of these cars were bought during this war. Now, the path to peace doesn't seem to be in Zelensky's sights, even though we can see that the United States and Russia are already working towards it.